What's up guys, Justin back again for Team Shenanigans, and today I'll be bringing you guys my updated blaster deck after the IG Legend deck came out. I've played around with a couple different builds, and so far this is the build I like the most at the moment because I've always really loved ThingSaver. And you no longer have to run the MLB engine in order to make sure you can build up his soul. And honestly, even through my testing, I thought that ThingSaver would probably still be, my main ride because you can still ride it and then Legion and still have a Blaster Vanguard with Blaster Seeker and still get you on Flipping Engine. But I usually found myself still just riding Exceed. Of course, ThingSaver will be your answer to the Link Joker matchup, or any matchup that keeps nuking your rear guards and you, for some reason, you just can't put out a board anymore. You can always ThingSaver and hopefully swing for game. But this deck now is unlike any other ThingSaver deck. ThingSaver is really not even the boss anymore. He's basically your backup. And honestly, when we get the new Blaster Lou, I'm probably going to try him in the deck instead. But let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. Of course, 4 copies of Blaster Blade Exceed. Finally, a grade 3 Blaster Blade that's not, MLB or Excapulate. A good unit, when it's placed on Vanguard or Rear Guard, Counterblast 1, retire a grade 1 or higher. So that's really good. And if you stride a Saver unit on top of him, you can Counterblast 1, search the deck for a Blaster Blade, and add it to your hand. So I only run 2 Stride Fodders just because he can search out himself and keep that loop going. That's another thing that Blaster Lou as a backup grade 3 will really help with. It can help you recycle your Blaster Blades and everything. Because a lot of times you'll run out of Blaster Blades in deck if you end up just drawing into them or damaging them, or the game just drags on a really long time. So that's basically what he does. He's just an overall solid grade 3. It really helps your Blaster engine. Blaster in the name, so you get your unflipping automatically unlocked with Barcall and everything. And the backup grade 3 is 4 copies of ThingSaver Dragon. If you're going to run ThingSaver, you have to run 4 copies because it's the Persona Reride. I'm not going to go into depth about this card because it's really old, but it's the backup because of Link Joker. I was testing Blaster Exceed with Alfred and running the Alfred Stride in the G-Zone, and that's equally as good, but I wasn't quite as sold on that build. I didn't really care for having Alfred as the backup grade 3 because I felt it just conflicted a little bit with other things in the deck. Like you couldn't get Barcall's countercharging off. Alfred still worked with the new Alfred Stride and the Murad Soul Saver Stride, but it doesn't work with Religious Soul Saver, and it just kind of felt a little slower. So I moved all my Alfred cards to my Alfred dedicated deck and just built a completely separate deck for that, and I'll do a deck profile on that in a little while too. So solid grade 3 lineup. I'm going to definitely test out Lou instead of ThingSaver when it comes out though. But for now, it's very good. Next, of course, 4 copies of Blaster Blade. No reason to explain what this card is. It's basically the heart and soul of the deck now. And the deck will only get better when Ganslot comes out, and Ganslot does his own really awesome things, but then face up in the G-Zone, your Blaster Blades can't be popped by the Grand Blue little G-Guardian trick with the Cannoneer. They can't be put back to the deck with Hetero Hound, and it can't be popped by the Nile Griffin. So can't wait for Ganslot. That's going to really help all the combos of this deck, because right now, you run into any of that, you just have to pray and hope they don't have a G-Guard. 2 copies of Blaster Blade Seeker. I only run 2 Blaster Blade Seeker because I like the 1 Spirit tech, and I didn't want to take out a Lou, and I'm certainly not going to take out an OG Blaster Blade. And I didn't want to have to sacrifice a grade 1 slot or a grade 3 slot for a 3rd copy. And since ThingSaver isn't the main focus of the deck, you can definitely get away with 2. The chances are that you're not going to have to ride one and damage it, and if you do, then I guess you just can't ThingSaver, or you can Soul Blast it out with Murad, or, chances are you can just call it out. If you damage one, you can search the other one out to go ahead and have it in your hand and guard with it or anything to have it in the drop zone to make sure you don't have to damage it. You don't damage the second copy. So far I haven't had any problems with it. This is actually the 2 ARGs I topped this past year was my Thing Saver blaster deck with like MLB and everything, and I only ever ran 2 Blaster Blade Seeker in that too, and I've never had any problems out of it. So, and then the 1 copy of Blaster Blade Spirit, because of course it is searchable off your Wingall Youth and your Wingall Brave. It's your best ride target against rush heavy decks, and what I really love doing against Gear Chronicle with this is either skip, if you can't really afford to skip your grade 1 ride to ensure you can stride first, you can ride a 9K and then let them ride, and then they're going to either ride to grade 2 or choose to stay at 2 to make sure they get the first stride. And on your next turn you just ride Blaster Blade Spirit, and now they're having a hard time poking you, and they're most likely just going to go ahead and ride to 3 at that point, and then that guarantees you do get the first stride. So, and then 4 copies of Lu. No need to explain what this card does. It's amazing to have to open this card and a Barkall along with a different grade 2 to ride if you go first, because then your opponent's going to be on a 7K. You make a 19K column with Lu and Barkall, and then next turn they're most likely on a 9K, and your 19K is still swinging, you know, just hitting those magic numbers, and they're most likely taking it, because you don't necessarily have to call out the Blaster Blade if you don't have to counter blast or anything. It's just a 19K consistent column. But then again, if they're on a 7K, swing 19 face, counter blast 1 goes to soul, bring out Blaster Blade, swing 12 face, and then if they destroy your Blaster Blade or you intercept with it and you draw into another Lu on their after they've rode grade 2, you're swinging for great numbers all day. That's the grade 2 lineup. It's really solid. I can't think of anything right now I'd like to change. Like I said, if you're uncomfortable with only 2 Blaster Blade Seekers, you can just take out the Spirit for a 3rd copy. But I really love the 10K base, and calling it out from deck, and you know, popping something for Counter Blast 1 is really nice too, on like your alt mile turn plays. Next, going on to the grade 1s, I run, of course, 4 copies of Blaster Friend Barkall. It's your countercharging engine, a great 7K booster, and it makes power columns with Lu. Enough said. Next, 4 copies of Wingall Youth. This is our new amazing card of the deck. It's basically a Wingall Brave that you don't get to search the entire deck and search for any blaster. It has to be something with Blaster Blade in the name, and it's only the top 7 cards of the deck. But if the card isn't there out of the top 7, it doesn't have to go to soul. If it was there, you add it, just pump it to soul. That's extra soul for your soul saver, or if you rode Exceed, extra soul for your Murad play. So overall, just great card, and it's a lot of early game on hit pressure. You can really force a lot of cards out of your opponent's hand early, especially if they're the type of player that doesn't want to let Wingall Brave hit. They're not going to want to let Wingall Youth hit. Or you just might just break them all together and they just say screw it and take everything. You hit some crits, you get extra cards to hand, and everything's all nice and you win the game. Next, 2 copies of Stride Fodder. Like I said, run 8 grade 3s, and if you ride Exceed, he's searchable off his own skill, so no need to really max out on Stride Fodders or anything. I haven't had a problem with it. In my original build, I wasn't running any when I was running Alfred Oath as the backup grade 3. And I automatically noticed, I was like, nope, I need Stride Fodder. Because a lot of times you don't want to go into a saber at first. You'll only have 2 grade 3s, and once you pitch that second grade 3, if you don't stride a saver on top of Exceed, you don't get the searching. So, and then you're stuck hoping you draw into something that you can stride with. So Stride Fodders are still really important, especially if you have to ride into Soul Saver at first. I mean, it's not Soul Saver, Thing Saver at first, then it really helps. And overall, it's a 7K booster, so that's nice. And then 4 copies of Unflipping PGs. I'm running Epona just because it's Epona, and this is like OG Blaster deck, so Epona's nice. And then triggers for heals, because the new Elaine looks amazing, and G-guarding is very important, especially if you have to ride grade 3 first, your opponent gets first stride. You want to save that heal in hand and G-guard so you can possibly just kill them on your first stride turn with Alfred. For Margall, because Margall goes to Soul and drawing cards is nice, this deck doesn't have a whole lot of inherent plussing. Honestly, when we get Gancelot, the first stride option of quadruple drive, and I might take Margall's out for the new crit trigger we're getting, which is just a Flame of Victory clone. Same skill as Margall, move it to Soul, power +3 to something. I'll probably try that card out instead of Margall, just for extra pressure, and if you G-guard and then stride into Gancelot, quadruple drive and Gancelot gets that extra crit, so then all your crits really matter. Next, one of the MVP cards of the deck, 4 copies of Flogel. When your Blaster Blade Rearguard attacks a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1 and put this card back in the deck and stand it. Doesn't give power or anything, but you want to pump up your Blaster Blades with getting it off Lou, gets power +3. On your Alt Mile turn, it'll get power +3. Your Alfred turn, you give it power +3, and then you stack triggers on top of it. You can throw Margall's in Soul and pop another 3 on it. And your Blaster Blade can get to hit pretty decent numbers, especially after your triple drive off your stride. And on your Alfred plays, you're just stacking all, you get 5 drive checks, you stack all the triggers on the sky, and he gets 2 attacks. So it's really nice. Then, 4 copies of Belenus. Since we do still run Alt Mile in the deck, Belenus provides extra soul while giving you some boosters on the field to ensure some of your stuff can hit their Vanguard, and then it just refuels your hand, and while adding power to your Vanguard. And then the only starter anyone should be running in the deck, Wingall Brave. OP, OP, OP. Whether your opponent wastes cards early to guard this card to keep you from searching your deck to grab exactly what you want or need, you're getting something off of this. You're either getting the card you want, or you're making them pitch cards early game that they don't want to. And this forces so many early game 1-to-passes, and every now and then you're going to get that 1-to-pass. You're going to crit them, and they just wasted a card, you got 2 damage, and you get this skill off anyway. So, I'm going to reset all this, and we'll go over the G-Zone. Alright guys, now time for the G-Zone. First off, run 4 copies of the new Alfred. If you have a Blaster or an Alfred Heart, you can counterblast 1. Discard a card, choose a card with Blaster Blade in its name, so it doesn't have to be OG Blaster Blade. Give it power +3, and it gets Twin Drive on the first time it attacks the Vanguard for that turn. So you're ditching a card. Oh, you also have to flip a copy of him face up. You're discarding a card, but you're giving a Blaster Blade Twin Drive, and that just makes for some really OP plays with your OG Blaster Blade. But you guys already knew that, because this is the new hype card of the format. So 4 copies of Alfred Saver, because there's absolutely no reason to not run 4 copies. This card is amazing. 2 copies of Religious Soul Saver, because it can be your first stride, it has Saver in the name, so it procs off Exceed skill, and has the potential to give your field plus 15k, plus 5k to 3 different units. He can also give plus 5k to himself, because it specifies units, not rear guards. And has potential to have a crit. So if you have 2 or more blasters in Soul and a Blaster Heart, which you normally will, which you always will if you're going into this guy, just for 1 counterblast 1 and flipping up a copy of him, you can make your opponent have a really bad time if they don't have a PG early game. Potentially really steal games away with this card. And then we have 4 copies of Alt Mile. Alt Mile will probably be coming down to 2 in this build when Gancelot comes out, but right now he's just overall a good card. If you don't have a Blaster Blade, or you're going up against a deck that just likes to continuously nuke your rear guards, you can go into Alt Mile and search out a grade 2 for free. Go grab your Blaster Blade. Your Blaster Blade's going to get plus 3k for being in the front row, and if Alt Mile searched him out, another plus 5k. If you have a Flogel in hand, then you're set. I'll still be running 2 alt miles after Gant slot comes out. I'm going to try out 3 Gant slots, so 2 alt miles and 1 Murad will probably come out. Speaking of Murad Soul Saver, this card is amazing. It's kind of lets us do what, what's it called, Sanctuary Guard does. For just Soul Blast 3, when this card attacks, you choose up to 5 rear guards on your field, and they get power +5. So it really pumps up your board. The Soul Blasting, you may say, really contradicts with running Soul Saver as the backup grade 3. But I would only go into this guy in a game where I'm not going to be using Soul Saver at all. So if I ride Exceed and it's a game where I'm not going to need Soul Saver, I might stride into this guy. That's why I run 2 copies, because you do have a lot of cards that go to Soul in this, and there is a high possibility you could use it twice. But like I said, when Gant slot comes out, one of these is coming out. And he also has Saber in the name, so you have 4, 6, 7, 8 cards with Saber in the name, so that really helps. So that's it for strides. Going into G Guardians, just run 2 copies of Laser Guard Dragon. If you have a grade 2 on the field, it gets +5k shield, so easy 20k guard. 1 copy of Assault, because Assault's amazing. A lot of people don't really like this card, but because it costs a counterblast, but you have your nice counterblasting engine with Barcall and Blaster Blade and PGGs, and if you manage your counterblasts well, this is never really going to bite you, and it's optional. If you're in a matchup where you won't need its effect, you can just still G-Guard for 15 without using the counterblast. But this card overall is still really good against like guard restrict decks that really pump their numbers up really high, like Charat and such. You can potentially guard their huge Vanguard swing with just this card. And then 1 copy of Dismal, because even when Gant slot comes out, I'll still probably be running the 1 Dismal, because Gant slot only protects your Blaster Blade during your turn, not your opponent's turn. So if they're going to try to gun for it, you don't have a way to search it out on your next turn. You can always Dismal to protect it. But that's my deck, guys. That's what I'm working with right now. Like I said, after set 11, it's going to change just a little bit. I'm going to keep trying out new things. What the Legend deck really did for us is it gave us a lot of options. That's always a nice thing to have in the game, because a lot of times in Vanguard, you can get like an optimal build of something and just be stuck using just that build for like over a year, like when Revengers were really big, and it can get kind of stale and boring. So it's really nice to have a lot new toys to play with. And so let me know what you guys think, and remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for more deck profiles, matches, buddy fight, Vanguard, everything. Thanks for watching, guys.